Hi everybody, welcome to the channel, Blue Liner Milsurps. My name is Scott, and this is our first Sunday Gun Day video. So happy Sunday Gun Day to you. Hope you're got to see the introduction video that went up earlier last week, and our videos are going to be on Sunday. We call them Sunday Gun Day, and our first one is ready to go. So this is our first one that we're going to do, and this is a Dutch Beaumont Model 1871/88. So a couple things about this. It is, of course, a black powder cartridge made initially in 1871. This one actually was made a little later in the 1870s, and it was originally started out as just a single shot black powder cartridge. So you would open the bolt, put in a single cartridge, close the bolt, and fire the round. Then open the bolt, reach in, grab out the old cartridge, put a new one in. Then in the 1880s, 1888, a Italian artillery officer by the name of G. Vitali came up with a magazine system, and it was installed on two different rifles in Europe at the time. One was the Italian Vetterli, and this one, the Dutch Beaumont. So this rifle was initially designed by a man by the name of Eduardo Beaumont. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not positive. But he designed the single shot version of this in the 1871. And then when the smokeless powder came out and the big rage was repeating rifles across Europe, this one, it was in the Netherlands, they put this Vitali magazine system on here, and it became /88. So it's a very simple design. It has the bolt. There is the Vitali magazine in here. You would put 4 rounds of this very big 11 millimeter by 50 rimmed cartridge in here, and then you could put one here. There is a magazine cutoff right here, so you can just single load it like it was originally intended, or you can take the magazine cutoff off and load, and every time you cycle the bolt, it'll throw out the old one, and it will grab a new one from the magazine and put it in. So that's kind of the basics of the history. We're going to take this apart real quick. It shouldn't take us but a few seconds, or a few minutes actually, to get this apart. We're going to look at the condition, because this is going to be part restoration, a part conservation. So before we begin, what I noticed first off, before we do anything, we always, safety-wise, check, make sure that there's no round in there, and there isn't. So we're going to close the bolt, and we're going to decock it there. So the first thing about this Dutch Beaumont is the butt here. That is not the original butt plate for the Dutch Beaumont. They did not make rubberized. So the actual length of this is supposed to be 52.2 inches. And when I measure it, it only comes out to 50. So I think what happened is the end of this buttstock either was chopped off by someone or it was damaged. And there's also supposed to be a sling swivel right here for a sling, and that's not there. And you can actually see that somebody filled that in and then put little dowels in there to cover the holes. And then they cut off 2 inches and put this rubberized or plastic butt plate on here. So it should be a metal butt plate that kind of curves up on top, but I believe there's 2 inches of that buttstock that's completely missing. So I do not have another Dutch Beaumont stock. We would have to replace. I can't add 2 inches onto the end, as well as I don't have an original Dutch Beaumont butt plate. So we'll just have to do with as we have. So it is in pretty good condition. It is functional. We have a nice cartouche right here. Most of the information would have been on that butt plate, but we know from looking here that it was made in 1878. The butt plate would have when the conversion happened, Vitali, which we don't have, so I don't know. It would have been 1888 or after that. So to take it apart. We're going to do the bolt first. If you look at the bolt here, I'll show it to you here. The bolt head does not move. The bolt body with the handle moves, but the bolt head right here does not. There is a screw here that goes in a slot on the bolt head. So the bolt head, when we push it forward and seat the round, it does not have any locking lugs on it. The only thing that locks this bolt is the handle when it comes down into this locked position. So the bolt handle and the top of the bolt body here are the locking lug. So to take it apart, we're going to start by taking the screw, and we'll show you how it works, how the locking lug or the bolt head, which is not part of the bolt body. So in order to take it out, you actually have to take that screw out to take the bolt body out. And then left in here is the bolt head, which can be easily lifted out. Now, when you do this, you want to make very careful, because here's the bolt head. So if we put it back on, you can see there's a little slot. This is where that goes. And when it locks in, it just moves around the bolt head. On the bolt head is the extractor and the ejector. This is the extractor. That is what pulls the individual round out of the chamber after it has been fired. And this is the ejector. This is what ejects the round out, or the spent casing out afterwards. It rides in a little, in here, there's a little rail on the back side. If you ever go out and buy yourself a Dutch Beaumont, before you do it, if you're going to buy it online, make sure you get pictures, because this little piece rides, there's a little pin right there, and this has to ride on here, and that goes up and down on the pin. Make sure, if you ever buy a Dutch Beaumont, that it has, or one with the Vitali, that it has that piece. You cannot find these anymore. So make sure that when you buy one, if you're going to buy one, you have looked and inspected to make sure the bolt head, make sure that pin is there and it hasn't been taken off or filed down or lost, and that it has an actual ejector that rides on the side of the bolt head there. So make sure that you do that before you buy one of these. Otherwise, you're buying an incomplete one. It'll still function without that, but you would have to fish in there to get it out yourself. So to do the rest of the bolt, the first thing we have to do is decock it. I'm going to take the decock, and then we're going to take the bolt handle apart. The bolt handle is actually what holds the firing pin spring. Unlike other bolts where the firing pin spring goes over the firing pin, this one has a V-spring in the bolt handle. The Dutch Beaumont, and I believe there's a Japanese rifle, the Murata, I believe, not positive on that one, are the only ones that do that. And so you have to actually take the bolt handle apart to get to that V-spring. So there it is. There's a V-spring. And it sits inside the bolt handle. So we can then take the firing pin out, and you can see that when it is inside the bolt body, that there's a little indent here with a raised portion on the firing pin. That's where this little notch sits inside the handle. And depressing and releasing that V-spring is what allows the firing pin to shoot forward. So that's a quick down and dirty on how the bolt works. And this is pretty dirty. We got a lot of a little bit of crud and rust on here. We're going to end up cleaning all that off. So now we're going to take the rest of this apart. Now I have a great book that I use here, The Collector's Guide to Military Rifle Disassembly and Reassembly. Fantastic book. If you're going to do any military surplus, I highly recommend. You can get them online, 25, 30 bucks. Now, and I usually follow it to the letter with this one exception. In the book, the next thing is to take these barrel bands off. The problem with doing that right away is the action sitting in the stock. If I do that, the only thing holding it is this one screw right here. So there's a screw on the back of the action right here. My fear is if I take the bands off and the front of this separates from the stock, we could bend the screw because the only thing holding it would be the screw. So I don't want that to happen. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the screw because I don't want the action, the barrel, and the receiver separating before I've gotten this out because it could bend the screw. And once again, this is a rifle from the 1870s. They don't make these things anymore. So I'm going to take that out first. Now I'm going to do the barrel bands. A barrel band should be pretty easy. All they have, you don't have to unscrew them. They just have these springs. So we'll take the nose cap off. You spin it around and you can take it off. There's actually a little slot so you can turn it and it will go over the front sight. And then on the rear one, same thing. Just take it off the little springs and that will come off. Now we should be able to separate it. Oh, one other thing as well is this screw here. This screw holds the magazine system in. So we want to unscrew that one first, right in front of the trigger guard. So I know, there it is. And take that one out as well, because that is what holds that in. So now we can separate the receiver and the barrel from the stock here. And we've done it without doing any kind of damage. So this is the receiver and the barrel. You see a lot of finish is gone underneath the wood line. This is why everything I get, I take it apart and look at it. What's underneath that wood line? Is there any rust? Things like that. So we have the trigger system here. It's a pretty simple one with a trigger spring on the back. Very simple, easy design. This is what was added, the magazine cutoff. That's how the magazine cutoff works. So we are going to take that magazine cutoff off. It's going to be one screw here. I like to keep everything as separate as possible so I remember which screws go where. And then this back screw. So these two screws and the magazine cutoff comes off. Keep those all together there. And then we have that. We have the trigger. The trigger is pinned, and I've not decided whether or not I'm going to take that off. So right now we're just going to leave it. So the only other thing that we're going to do here is get this magazine system out. To do that, we take off this screw on the bottom here that sits between the magazine and the trigger. And then the magazine system lifts out. You see, it's very simple. There are two wings on the side. If we push that in, we can remove the wings or move the wings out on the side of and the follower comes out. It's just a very simple spring there, and we can look down. We see there is a bit of rust here that was inside. We're going to have to work on that. So, and then the very last thing is this trigger guard. And we have one screw that just holds the trigger guard onto the bottom of the stock. We'll get that off. It's a little longer screw. Put that one over here. Keep the screw with it. There is also a metal tang in here that's right here. I don't see any need to take that off. So right away, I see two issues on the stock, and that is two cracks right here and right here. The good news is that is common on these. So when this stock was originally made, there was no hole here. It was a straight piece of wood. And then when they added the Vitali magazine system, they cut a hole which weakened the side, and after usage, it caused these cracks. The good news is that's something that's very easy to fix. So we can, I do see some movement there. So we are going to epoxy those two cracks back together. We'll put some epoxy and we'll clamp it for 24 hours. So, and that is it. We can take these barrel band springs out. I'll do that off camera, as well as the butt plate here. And kind of the plan for this, as we are going forward throughout this week. So we're going to do our best to get all the rust and nastiness off of this. I kind of use there's a three-pronged approach to it, and from the least invasive to the most invasive, we'll see what works. The first is to take the metal parts and we'll boil them. And once we boiled them for about 45 to 50 minutes, we should be able to get most of the rust off. And after we've cleaned everything thoroughly in the ultrasonic cleaner, then we'll boil the metal parts. Then we'll take a 4/0 steel wool, or perhaps the carding wheel, and try to get as much of that. If that doesn't work, we'll move to sanding, some fine grit sandpaper to move along, and kind of end up at the very, very fine. We'll see if that works. If that doesn't work, then we'll go to the most invasive, which is a rust bath, a chemical that will remove both the rust and the bluing on it. So for the barrel here, we're just going to see what we can get off, try to leave as much of the original finish. We can see where the barrel bands were, what happened there. And then after we've done that, we'll re-blue what we can of it, try to make it look good. So that's what we're going to do throughout the week. So that is the Dutch Beaumont completely disassembled. And although I may take this trigger off, and I will be taking these barrel bands out, because the stock, first thing we're going to do is fix these cracks, and then we're going to clean and degrease the stock itself and try to make that. Then we'll use some boiled linseed oil to make it look pretty. We got some speckles here, things that we want to get off. So we'll clean this with some simple grain or crud cutter, and see what we can't get off of the stock. There is some dirt, some of these speckles, but we'll do that after we've epoxied these two cracks here around the Vitali machine, the Vitali magazine, and we'll take care of the metal parts and boil them and card them and see where we are from there. And I will keep you updated as we move throughout this project. So this is our first project on Blue Liner milsurps, the Dutch Beaumont Model 1871/88, to try to make it as nice as we can. So that is it for this Sunday. I'm going to be working on this throughout the week, and our next Sunday Gun Day video, let's hope we have it ready and done, all ready to put back together. So that's it for this Sunday Gun Day. My name is Scott with Blue Liner Milsurps. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please like it. Please leave any comments or questions below if you want. Again, be nice and respectful. I know that there's multiple ways to do this, and that there are a lot of people like, don't do that, and you got to do this. Everybody does things just a little bit different, and my rifle, my rules. And I've been doing it this way, of boiling and carding and degreasing and cleaning for all of them, and I think they've all turned out really, really nice the way I've done. So I'm going to keep doing them my way. If you have a suggestion Please feel free to leave that in the comments. And again, be nice and respectful. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week for the next Blue Liner Mill Service. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.